Yes, and by the way, in prison, the determination should be that your sexual identity is defined by what you say it is, not what, in fact, the prison says it is. And in that case, you should be entitled also to OGBYN. Anyway, you didn't ask that question, but you're not likely to either, I guess.
That was President Biden supporting the rights for trans women, which are biological men who now said that they are women, to be housed in correctional facilities with actual women. And did you get the part at the end where he said, and these trans women will get, all their OBGYN rights? And then he was like, oh yeah, I'm actually talking about men. So, you know what, just forget it and move on. Welcome back to Bible Bears, everyone. I'm Ryder Cullison. If you hear any panting in this video, that's because my dog is right below the camera. She just heard a big boom in the distance, and now she's all freaked out. 4th of July was a lot of fun. Anyway, before we get into our topic, which is LGBT rights are destroying women's rights, and it couldn't be more evident in the fact that men, biological men, are now set to transfer into women's prisons, and it could have some devastating results. But before we get into that, we need to do our joke of the day. I'll also put up the verse of the day, and we've got the prayer of the day coming up. But first, what is the bad dad joke of the day? And I promise you, this one is bad. What does a janitor say when he jumps out of the closet? Supplies! Alright, now on to our main story, but before we get into that, don't forget to hit that bell notification so that you will be notified when I post new videos. So, a topic that came up on the campaign trail, it came up a lot, really under the umbrella of the LGBT rights, when we're talking about pronouns and transgender surgeries and so on. There is an issue in men's correctional facilities, prisons, where transgendered women, I guess, men, biological men who are women, are sexually assaulted. They are sexually assaulted at 13 times the rate of others in the prison system, according to a recent study. Now, what I didn't know, and I've never been to prison, and I don't know a lot about prison outside of what I see in shows like Oz and Shawshank Redemption, transgendered women, that is, biological men who think they are women, dress like women in prison. I didn't know that. So, the idea has always been that it would be torturous for a man who identifies as a woman to dress in men's clothes. It's almost like cruel and unusual punishment. You can't treat them that way. And I admit, I'm a man. I feel like a man. I would not want to wear women's clothes all day. And they don't just wear women's outer garments, they wear women's undergarments as well. Probably lipstick as well, and grow their hair long. So it's not surprising to find out that they are attacked at a much higher rate than men. You are in jail with murderers and rapists and all sorts of miscreants of society who wouldn't think twice, some of them, about raping another man, and now you're a man dressed up like a woman, so, I'm not too shocked about this. So, one of the issues, the hot topic issues on the campaign trail on the left, was protecting the rights of these transgendered women and giving them the option to move into a correctional facility. Just to be clear, this is a biological man who identifies as a woman that will now be moved into a women's facility. Why do they want to do this? Well, just as I mentioned, they're trying to protect the rights of those men. But they're not really men. They identify as women, so they're trying to protect the rights of those women by moving them into a women's facility where presumably they won't be raped. Here's the problem. They aren't actually women. They're biological men. And although you can just say that they're women, they really aren't. And the problem that's occurring is some of these transgender women, which are biological men, to be clear, are attacking female inmates. Now, there was a recent story in Washington. Go figure, right? A radio station reported that there were transgender women, biological men, that were transferred into a women's prison, and upon getting there, one of the transgendered women, which is a biological man, raped a female inmate. Now, an organization called the Women's Liberation Front, which stands up for the rights of women, confirmed this through the Freedom of Information Act, that in 2021, 6 men have been transferred to the Washington State Correctional Facility for women. Among those was a man convicted, a man who now identifies as a woman, was convicted of serially murdering 3 prostitutes, 3 women prostitutes. Now, as an interesting aside to this story, this man, which I believe his name is Doug, who now goes by Donna's defense was to blame the murders on Doug, his male alter ego. Also among those was another man who at 19 sexually assaulted a 12-year-old girl. These two are now in a women's prison with women who are smaller and lighter and not as strong as them. California has recently passed their law at the beginning of the year to allow anybody who identifies as a woman to be transferred into a men's facility. And so far, 264 male prisoners have requested this move. Now, what's interesting here is, unlike in a transition from a male sport to a women's sport where a male must start taking estrogen or other female hormones to make that transition from a male prison to a women's prison, there need not be any surgery, no hormones, not even a period where you lived your life as a woman. You can basically say, hey, I'm being sexually assaulted here, I'm a woman, I want to be transferred to this prison. And bring, it happens. Now, what happens in California often gets adopted nationwide. And we see this happening in other places. It's not just happening in the United States, though, either. It's happening in the UK. In the UK, according to the Ministry of Justice, 60 of the 125 transgender prisoners in English and Welsh prisons are sex offenders. These are often men who have assaulted other women in the past and now are being placed in populations with women. Now, I'm not suggesting that if you took 20 transgendered women, which are biological men, and put them in a women's prison, that all 20 of them are going to start raping or assaulting the women. But if even one of those, which is only 5%, did it, isn't that too much? What's your solution? J.K. Rowling took a lot of flack in the beginning of the year for saying there are 2 genders. There have to be 2 genders, because if you stop having 2 genders, then that basically eliminates all women's rights. Okay? If you could just be any gender you want to be, then what happens to all the rights and the laws and the measures designed to support women? We see this playing out right here. What happens to women's rights? These biological men aren't biological women. They're just saying they're women, so you're giving women's rights to them and putting them in a prison with other women. And the women in that prison, their rights are being squashed because they are getting assaulted by these biological men. Does it make any sense? No, it doesn't. This is the insanity that we see coming from the left. Will it end? Not anytime soon. Now for the prayer of the day. I want us, all those who view this video, to please pray for our school systems. Why? Because the largest teacher union in the country is trying to cram critical race theory down our throats. They say anybody who opposes it is basically racist. The critical race theory is super divisive. It's going to basically pit races against one another in this country. I like what Morgan Freeman said on this topic, on the topic of racism. He said, if you want to eliminate racism, just stop talking about it. All critical race theory does is basically say, white man bad, black man oppressed. It's so divisive. It's so divisive, and teachers are going to struggle trying to teach us. They should not be teaching anything that suggests one race is inferior or superior to another, and that's what critical race theory does. This is something that no liberal would have supported 10 years ago, but now they think they can get vote. I don't know. It's just insanity to me, so I can't make any heads or tails of it. But that's the prayer for the day. Please pray for our school systems and for wisdom to prevail. Guys, what do you think? Do you think transgender women, biological men, should be allowed in women's prisons? Look, I agree. I don't believe just because you're a criminal and you go to prison that part of your punishment should be sexually assaulted or beaten up by other inmates day in and day out. I don't agree with that at all. And transgender women are assaulted 13 times as much as the rest of the prison population. That's despicable. I don't favor rape of any kind. Like, God, let your wrath rain down on those men. But you can't take transgender women, biological men, and put them in women's prison and have women be assaulted by these inmates. It's just not fair. It's just as despicable as what's happening to them in men's prisons. So it's all complete insanity to me. There needs to be a better solution. I don't know what that is, but if you have one, put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and share. And I love you. And have a blessed day.